e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, d into d4, knight into d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, bishop g5, e6, f4, bishop e7. Better is queen b6. Let us go back. After bishop e7, queen f3 is played. Queen c7. If instead of queen c7, h6, bishop g4, g5, f into g5, knight f d7, knight into e6, f into e6, queen h5 check, queen king f8, bishop b7, rook h7. Let us go back and see. After queen c7, Keres castled on queen side, knight b d7, bishop e2, b5. Fischer start moving his pawns on queen side. Bishop f6, bishop into f6, knight into f6. If bishop into f6, bishop into b5 or g into f6, queen h5, knight b6, or instead of knight b6, black castles on king side, rook d3. After knight b6, a3 followed by f5. Let us go back. After knight f6, e5 is played. If instead of e5, a3, rook b8 gives a strong attack to black. Let us go back. After e5, bishop b7 is played. After bishop d7, e into f7 is played. Keres seems to be to have prepared for this. Correct is queen g3, d into e5, f into e5, knight d7, queen into e5. But what is played is, after e into f6, Fischer simply chopped up the queen. Bishop into f3 is played. Bishop into f6, but not rook c8, f into e7, queen into e7, knight f5. This was suggested by another grandmaster, Bondaras Sky. Bishop into f6 was the last move played. Bishop into a8, d5, trapping the bishop. Bishop into d5. Instead of bishop into d5, bishop c6 check, king f8, knight ce2, king e7. But last move is bishop into d5, bishop into d4, rook into d4, e into d5, knight into d5, queen c5, rook e1 check, king f8, c3. White seems to have fine prospects, but a queen is a queen is a queen. h5, f5 to hinder g6. Fischer plays rook h6, f6, throwing away a pawn in order to keep black bottled up. Keres should maintain the status quo with rook d1. It is what Fischer suggests is. Keres seems to delusion of white is having the initiative. Correct is rook d e4, king g8, rook e8 check, king h7, rook d8, rook d6. Rook d6 neutralizes all white's threats. Let us go back and see the last move played is f6, g into f6, knight f4, h4, rook d8 check, rook d8 check is given, double question mark. So this is a bad move. Continuing the attack, the defensive rook e2 is required. This is the best move according to Bobby Fischer. What is played is rook d8 check, king g7, rook e8, queen g1 check, king d2, queen f2 check, knight e2, rook g6, g3. Instead of g3, let us go back. Instead of g3, rook g8 check, king h6, rook h8 check, king g5, white nowhere. So let us go back. Last move played is g3, rook g8 check, king f6, rook into g6 check. Instead of that, rook d6 check, king e7, rook d into g6, f into g6, rook into g6, h3. This is given by another grandmaster who says black is easily winning. So let us go back. The last move played is rook into g6 check, f into g6, g into h4. This is the game played between Bobby Fischer and Paul Keres of USSR, who missed the world title 5 times, the most unlucky player in the history of chess. When he was about to play with Alexander Alcline, the Second World War started and the game was never held. And he missed the other 4 times he missed it in candidates tournament. Once Gligoric, the strong Yugoslavian grandmaster, said anyone wants to grab 1 point from Keres, they have to beat him 3 times, once in the opening, once in the middle game, once in the end game. Queen into h2 is played by Bobby Fischer. This is a mistake. Correct is queen into h4. Fischer has to win the game once again. Queen h1, king c2, not knight f4, which allows penetration by b1. Therefore, king c2 is played. King e5, a4, queen b8, trying to capitalize on the disjoint white pieces. Knight c1, queen g2 check, king b3. The pressure creates new losing chances. Also bad is king b1, b into a4, rook into a4, queen g1, king c2. But what is played is king b3, b into a4 is played. b into a4 check, king a3, on rook into a4, or if king into a4, queen c2 check, knight b3, queen into b2, or after rook into a4, queen d2, knight a2, f4 is deadly. But after king a3, queen c2, b3 check, king f6, knight c5 is played, queen c1, threatening, rook a8 check, rook into a4, queen e3. The game was adjourned here. Keres sealed his move. That is the end of 40th move. Sealed move is knight into a6. This is a bad move because it makes it easy. Correct is rook d4, f4. That is the correct move. But what is played is knight into a6, f4, rook d4, king f5, king a5, f5 is a excellent move. This is the move Keres missed while sealing his 41st move. He anticipated f3, knight c5, f2, knight e4 check, queen into e4, rook into e4, f1 is equal to queen. With a dead draw, since black cannot create another passed pawn. The last move played is king f5, knight b4. More resistance could have been offered by knight c5, queen e7, also a good move, b4, queen into h4, b5, queen f6. The last move is knight b4, queen e7, king b3, queen into h4, knight d3, g5, c4, queen g3, c5, f3, king c4, f2, knight into f2, queen into f2, c6, queen into b2, king c5, queen c3 check, king d5, on rook c4. Let us go back and see. On rook c4, a5 check, king d4, queen c7 wins. The last move played is king d5, g4, rook c4, queen e5 mates. If you like this video, please subscribe, share. You can see many more beautiful games of Bobby Fischer. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time.